It's our honor now to welcome another pastor to the War Room Show, Lance Wallnau. He was on last week. I cover the Midwest territories of the country known as the Frozen Chosen and the Minnesota Nice People. Ben Hardenwell covers the Catholics with Stephen K. Bannon. And Pastor Wallnau is on the evangelical Pentecostal front. And so he gets on fire and calls balls and strikes. And I think he wants to share what happened with the event last week. And I'd love to hear your commentary, Lance, as well on the Harris comments when a couple of folks said Jesus is Lord and you're at the wrong place. I mean, that in the history of American government, I've never heard the quiet part out loud. Lance Wallnau, take it from there.
I know. I mean, she could. And what's amazing is when she does ad lib and you get the essence, like scratch and sniff, what's right there. Obama would have had the wit to say, indeed he is, and you're welcome here. Everyone's welcome here. And he would play it out so that it's inclusive. Right. Yeah. But she basically kicks the guy out. Like, hey, if you're a follower of Jesus, you're in the wrong meeting here, buddy. Now, what's the implications of that? If you're following Jesus, you're in the wrong religion, buddy. Hey, if your child is in the wrong house, then we're here to make sure we get them in the right house. Because that's the implication. You don't belong there. Now, what's amazing is the guy didn't even have a Trump shirt. I thought maybe if he had a Trump, hand in the air, fist bump, fight. But he just in his exuberance shouts it out. I think that but after the Al Smith dinner, that's the other thing. You got to catch it all in context. She blows off the Al Smith dinner, which is a Catholic charity in New York. So it's a double punch. And this is in part what Ben will tell you is the reason why in the crosstabs, Catholics are more connected to Biden than Harris. She's disconnecting from the Catholic vote. And I don't want to warn her. I just let her go. Let her run with the wolves right now because she's actually losing the Christian connection. And she doesn't have to, but she is. But listen, the meeting last week, I got to talk about this because my hair's a little on fire here, Dave, because I'm reading the Washington Post, the New York Times. All of the mechanisms are out to take a Christian gathering of concerned mothers and demonize them as the violent front lines of a new dangerous manifestation of militant supremacists. I mean, you read what they're writing. Christian supremacists gathered in mass in a militant gathering, this extremist movement steeped in the violence of the Old Testament stories. Well, it is true. The Bible, David and Goliath, that's a violent story. Daniel and I always crack up when Mike Lindell, he sends me a pillow, and it's got Daniel in the lion's den and David and Goliath. I'm thinking every toddler should go to bed with these wonderful violent images, but these stories are violent. But that doesn't translate to the fact that we are a Christian culture that is steeped in violence. It's the exact opposite. We're the most pacifistic of all people because we believe that our battle is spiritual, not literal. But not with these people. What they want to do is they want America to think that this is a hateful, dangerous group. And they have pseudo-scholars they quote. And actually, there's only one. They can only drug up one. And this is how religious national violence is instigated, Matthew Taylor says. The NAR movement is characterized by an obsession with power. Don't you think that Christians are more, and Christian patriots that are voting for Trump are more obsessed with preserving their freedom than they are with the acquisition of power? The acquisition of power is what the Marxists want. The Christians want to be protected. We were in the Shire. We weren't even engaged with politics until they got into our lane. Well, anyway, you're an authority on that. Am I exaggerating the case, or isn't the media trying to make us look Christian nationalist, supremacist, dominionist? They are intentionally misleading the American public.
Dave Bratt, Ben Hardenwell in the War Room, co-hosting together, covering A to Z. We have Lance Wallnau with us, covering some of the gaslighting going on Christians across the country. I opened up the show. It's kind of fascinating with a piece in the New York Times by David Brooks. And let me just read you a sentence because this will give you a sense of what the left is doing here. And he's smart, right? David Brooks, he plays a conservative once in a while. Today, on the other hand, increasingly secular age political parties are better seen as religious organizations that exist to provide believers with meaning, membership, and moral sanctification. I mean, so even David Brooks, who tries to play a conservative, is saying that a leftist political organization can offer up what only God Almighty can offer up. And this is obviously why the left has a problem on their hands. They cannot enter the God talk narrative because they can't finish the sentence. And they know it. When you go up in thought, there's only one person at the top, and that's God Almighty. And so they're getting away with just a gaslighting of the first order. And so, Lance, are the pastors catching on to what's going on here? There's books out called Shepherds for Sale. I hope the word is spreading on these clips that you don't belong in the room anymore.
Yeah. And, but you're making an interesting point. I don't want to lose this thought. And that is that what Brooks is talking about is that there is a kind of elite clergy. There's the and the left robes itself with the sanctimonious moral superiority of a religion. Right. And I think what he's getting at shouldn't be dismissed. The left is a religion. They have their own version of blasphemy laws. They have their own confession. If you don't make the confession, my daughter's in college here. If she doesn't acknowledge the binary of another peer in the class, and however they want to self-describe the adjectives, she must say that, or she could be expelled or not graduate. People lose their jobs if they don't respect the confession. You get censored. I lost 250,000 followers on YouTube because I didn't make the right confession. So I would say the left is a counterfeit religion. The difference is, and the danger is, David, and you know this, and Ben does too, because they have no deity, the government becomes the God. And this is the nature of all imperial persecution, where America's going, like I have now coined the word for Kamala, I call her Caligula. Because if she's ever in power, you will see the prosecution of the righteous, almost as though the government is doing a sanctimonious, sanctified work of saving the republic from dangerous troublemakers in their borders. And the organizations they create. I mean, we have to get more sophisticated in this. The articles that are being written now about people like me that were pastors for 20 years and came out of retirement to go protect democracy. They've got groups called, hilarious names, actually. There's John Horgan, the director of the Violent Extremism Research Group. Of course, the Violent Extremism Research Group is focusing on shofar-blowing, interceding pro-life Catholics and Pentecostals. They're such a known danger to society. Here's another one. The Armed Conflict Location and Event Data Project. And they're a global conflict group. And they're looking for white
supremacy. You can't make it up. Yeah. Hey, Lance, we got about a minute. I think Ben Harnwell wanted to ask you a quick question, too, and then about a minute to close.
I'm sorry. I got carried.
No, it's great.
I don't think we've got the time for it. I know that President Trump is in Asheville, North Carolina, and we're going to have a bit of footage from that as we go up to the end of the show. Everything that Lance was saying, it's in this article that's in The Guardian. Again, I mention it again with the headline, "The Satanic Temple is taking on the Christian right." And that's on the top of my Getter feed. It makes this precise point, Lance. It mentions the fact that the Satanic Temple is recognized as a religion by the IRS. That is their source of authority, the state. And this couldn't be more explicitly satanic. I did want to ask you about this new apostolic reformation, but I don't think there's going to be
time for that. We'll do that later on in the week.
All right, 1 minute.
Yeah, we'll get John again.
Oh, I'd love to. So Soros, I got tested at Harvard a couple of years ago, and I saw this show up. Soros was funding journalists to label Christians, that they were actually part of a new apostolic reformation, a renegade group of bizarre theologians who want to take over the world so that they can dominate politics and society. It doesn't exist. There is no NAR. But I am evidently one of the key spokesmen for the NAR, according to the Washington Post. But if everybody can do this real quick, look up, there's this website that has a pledge for anti-Christian nationalism. It was a website done right after January 6th. And I'm telling you, 300 prominent evangelicals jumped on the bandwagon of how the left vilified Christian nationalism. They saw January 6th and said, that's not me. And you need to look at the list of who signed that pledge, because they've signed a pledge that is actually anti-MAGA in nature. And I'm not sure.
Hey, Lance, how do folks reach out and get you, Lance?
All right, go to lancewallnau.com and you'll find me there.